That's a social dilemma though. Like, it's a major social dilemma.
But also reverts, they don't really have proper walis now. Like they'll have someone who will say they're the wali, but they haven't really got the time to vet.
Yeah. Isn't it a wali can't be a wali unless they're truly practicing?
Yeah, you shouldn't have someone who's not proper practicing be your wali. They can be like if it's a family and stuff.
Yeah.
Or if you're a river, you should look for like an imam of a masjid. But not everyone's going to be the most suitable kind of thing. Um, yeah, I remember a situation. There's a sister asked me to be a wali. I was like, okay, cool, but I have conditions. That one, you don't give up my number. Two, if you want me to, if you're interested in someone, talk to me first. I'll do the process. If they didn't have no, I can do that process. Find out about this person now. Get back to you. Next day, 2 days, bear man's calling. I'm like, what's going on? I said, obviously, you want me to treat you like my daughter, then this is how I would do it, kind of thing. So, some people, when they ask for a wali, they ask for an easy way out. They don't want someone to actually be a proper wali that comes with other issues. No. So, Tayyib, and continuing from Bulugh al-Maram, we have عن أبي قتادة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال في الحرة الحرة يعني القطة the cat إنها ليست بنجس إنما هي من التوافين عليكم أخرجه الأربع والصحة والترمذي وابن خزيمة. So now in this hadith it mentions regarding the cat that the Prophet said concerning the cats, it's not impure. It's one of those who live among you, i.e. always around you. Now, this is also evident of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not make the cat najis. Because it's like they always wanted, if you had a cat as a pet, it's always going to be wanting to be around you. It's always going to come and rub its leg on you. Something. It's just going to work. If you fall asleep, it's going to end up in your arms. You won't even realize. Tawafina alaykum. They are always coming around you. Now, so of the things that's known, la yahillu akluha. It's not permissible to eat cat. Now, and the asl is that most times when the animal is not allowed to be eaten is because of najasa or other reasons. Like though and the likes, it has canines, and other than this is predatory, those kind of things.
Sorry, so شنو يعني تقول شنو they has what؟ مخالب؟
مخالب ونياب.
نياب اوكي. سباع.
So it says, أما بولها وورثها وما يخرج من جوفها من قي فهو نجس. As for the cat, in terms of its urine and feces and vomit, then this is impure. وأما لعابها فليس بنجس. As for its saliva, then this is not impure. As for its saliva, not impure. So I mentioned ودليل ذلك حديث أبي قتادة رضي الله عنه فإنه أخرج له ماء يتوضأ به فجاءت هرة حوله تريد من هذا الماء فأصغى لها الإناء فشربت فقيل له ذلك كيف تمكن الهرة من أن تشرب من الماء الذي تريد الوضوء به فحدث بهذا الحديث عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال في الهرة إنها ليست بنجس فعرقها طاهر وريقها طاهر وإذا مسستها ويدك رطبة لم تتنجس. So he mentions in this regard that he wanted to make wudu and there was a cat that wanted some of the water, so he brought a vessel of water. The cat wanted some of the water. It drank some of the water. He mentioned how is it possible for the cat to drink water from the water you wanted to make wudu from? And he mentioned that hadith that the Prophet said that the cat itself is not najis. The cat itself is not najis. But as we mentioned, as for its urine and feces and vomit that comes from inside the cat, and this is najis. Now, And it mentions وَعَلَّلَ ذَلِكَ بِقَوْلِهِ, يعني the reason why it's not najis, إِنَّهَا مِنَ التَّوَّافِينَ عَلَيْكُمْ. نعم. And it says يعني من الحيوانات التي يكثر ترددها على العباد وما كثر تردده بين الناس فإن التحرز منه يشق فلما حصلت المشقة حصل التيسير لأن التيسير يكون حيث تكون المشقة فكل ما وجدت المشقة وجد التيسير لأن الله تعالى عز وجل يقول ما جعل عليكم في الدين من حرج. So here it mentions now the reason why there was a permissibility and the likes regarding the cat is because as mentioned in the hadith that is of the cats that are constantly around you. Some of the cats that are constantly around you. So those animals that are known to be constantly around mankind, always around mankind, then it becomes a difficulty upon mankind to avoid them. As for the dogs, it's easy to avoid dogs. Dogs are not as among people. Even when you go to Egypt and Morocco, the wild dogs, they don't come to the people. They kind of stay away from people as well. As for cats, no. Cats are going to come to you all the time. So the Now, so with this, what's mentioned here, لما حصلت المشقة, whenever you have difficulty, then the Sharia facilitates ease. As in the ayah that's mentioned, and Allah did not make upon you in the religion any form of haraj, difficulty. Whenever you have, as the qaida fiqhiyya, as al-mashaqqatu tajlibu taysir. That is the qaida fiqhiyya, that difficulty brings about ease. Now, for example, al-mashaqqatu tajlibu taysir. أليس السفر مشقة? Traveling is not hardship, right? Traveling is hardship. فماذا حصل من السفر؟ الجمع والقصر التيسير وإفطار للصائم. Now, during travel, a person can combine and shorten their prayer. They can break their fast. This is taysir. This is ease. Now, for example, شدة المطر, يعني when it's very hard rain, heavy rain. الجمع بين الصلوات. You also have combination of salah as well during these times. هذا ما يدل على أن الدين دين الرحمة. It's also evident that this religion is a religion of mercy. والتيسير. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want to make things difficult for us. So these are examples of that ease regarding the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the رفع نجاسة الهرة because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised from the impurity of the cat because of the difficulty of being able to avoid the cat. The cat's unavoidable in reality. And the nature is that they are always around mankind. So from that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has facilitated ease. Wallahu lahu an yahkuma bima sha. Allah is allowed to, Allah rules with whatever He wills. La mu'aqqiba li hukmi. There's none that will say, why did Allah say this? How can Allah? La. Allah decrees and judges with whatever He wills. Also, it's talked about the mice as well. They're not impure in and of itself because you're not able to avoid them. You're not able to avoid them. Those kind of animals,
Mice.
like hamsters, these kind of things.
What about rats?
Rats, yeah. What is, obviously they have a ruling in the Shara that when you see them you should kill them. They're fawaisaqa, from the fawaisaqa, the things of evil. But in terms of if they went into your vessel, it wouldn't be impure. Like the dog, for example. Say again?
الهامستر الفار الأبيض
It's not always white though.
في ألوان ولا؟
No.
هذا حلال اللي يجيب الطاعون؟
لا ليس يأتي بالطاعون نعم.
طاهر الهامستر طاهر؟
لا هذا نتكلم عن الطهورة بس يعني طهارة نعم. إيه. But as we mentioned, we said إنها ليست بنجس. What's exempt from this is when it relieves itself. As it mentions, كل شيء لا يؤكل فبوله وعذرته نجسة. Every animal that's not allowed to be eaten, then what it defecates or what it urines, then all of this is impure.
كل شيء لا يؤكل
بوله وعذرته نجسة. عذرته. حتى وإن كانت طاهرة, even if it is pure in of itself. Even if it's pure, whatever, if it's of those animals that's not allowed to be eaten, then its urine and its feces is all najis. لا يكون قاعدة فقهية ولكن ضابط.
في آية قرآنية على حسب ذاكرتي وأحل لكم صيد البر والبحر إلا ما تشتهيه الأنفس في آية كذا؟
لا أدري.
وأحل لكم صيد البر والبحر.
It mentions for those reasons, for example, if the cat drank from your milk or soup or other than this, then it's still halal for you to drink and continue to eat from that. It wouldn't be, unlike if it was a dog, then la. Then la.
Is this the same rule for camels as well?
But camels yukal lahmuhu, so it's pure.
You should make wudu after.
Yeah, you have to make wudu. That's ta'abbudi. That is just as a means of worship, but it's pure. The camel is pure.
And even the urine you can use as like a shifa.
Yeah, it can be drunk. Yeah, it's medicinal. I haven't done it myself, but yeah, it's meant to be very good for that which is good for. Yeah. So because of this hadith, you have like a number of things that the ulama they differ in regarding the reasoning behind that it's considered pure. And some say because it is small in size, because the cat is small in size, so they say whatever is similar in size then is also going to be from those things that are tahir. The other thing they mention is because it's the kathrat taraddud wa tawaf bayn al-nas, the thing that is always among the people, that's the reason why. And because of that, some differ regarding the donkey. Because donkey is often around people a lot as well. So that's something that they discuss.
الدونكي حلال أيضا عصر طاهر عفوا.
لا it's اختلاف بين أهل العلم فمنهم من قال أنه نجس وكذلك ريقه وعرقه, everything to do with the donkey is najis because it's كبير الحجم, it's not small, and it's haram al-akl, and it's haram to be eaten also. But you have some say الحمار والبغل وما أشبههما من الحيوانات التي تتردد بين الناس فلو شرب الحمار من ماء فلك أن تتوضأ به. نعم. So I mentioned And they say that's the strongest opinion, and that's what Sheikh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah was upon, that the mule and the donkey, if it was to drink from your vessel, then you can make wudu from that water, it's not impure. No, because it's always among people. Always among people. But the issue of why people had difference of opinion is because you cannot eat the donkey.
بس في الفلاحين في الصعيد ها يحتاج كله يحتاج الحمار عزك الله ما يصير يعني يكون حرام نجس منطقيا في الصعيد.
لا نحكم بالمنطق يعني الدين ليس مبني للعقل لكن هذا يعني القاعدة يعني لا يجوز أكل الحمار
طبعا
فيكون من ذلك أنه ريقه وكذلك كل هذه الأشياء محرمة نجسة نعم لكن من قال يعني لأنه متردد بين الناس يعني دائما يختلط بالناس فيجوز وقال هذا اختيار الصحيح نحن نتكلم من حيث اختلف العلماء في الحمار لكن قال الراجح أنه ليس بنجس نعم ولكن في من يقول أنه نجس مبني أنه لا يؤكل لحمه نعم
إيه بس اللي قال إنه مش نجس بس ما زال يعني مشتقاته نجسة إن كان حليبة أو لحمة نجس
نعم يعني العذرة والبول عذرة والبول
شنو العذرة؟
يعني ما خرج يعني ليس بول عذرة
اوكي نمبر 2
نعم
اوكي على فكرة الحمار عزك الله الحين يطلعون منه حليب تعرف؟
لكن لا نتكلم في هذا
ايه
بس يعني يمشي معي يعني هذا ما قال يعني البول والعذرة
نعم.
غير ذلك يعني لا يؤكل ولا يشرب من هذا نعم
اكيد
وكما قال as for those who say for example الحرة أنها صغيرة الجسم فما كان مثل الحرة في الجسم أو دونها في الخلقة وإن كان نادر الوجود في البيوت فهو طاهر so هذا القول ضعيف نعم when it mentions for example because of the size of the cat so whatever is similar size or smaller even if it's rarely found in the house and they say it's pure so that is da'if that's weak why because it mentions if we was to take that principle that the reasoning is behind its size of creation and the likes then we cancel the reason that has been mentioned by the Sharia and the reason mentioned by the Sharia is what tawafina alaykum that is always among you it didn't mention because of its size so what happens we rule out what has been mentioned in the Sharia and we affirm that which we have said from ourselves and that which we said from ourselves is to do with the size of the creation of the cat now as for what is mentioned in the hadith the illa is inna tawafina alaykum that they are constantly around you so now in those situations any الأفضل أن يختصر على ما ذكر في الشرع is to restrict oneself to what's been mentioned in the evidence now أو بما فهم الصحابة so as for other reasonings unless there's evidence for it then that's not going to be the preferred understanding what is clear and more preferred is what's been mentioned in the hadith itself that they are constantly living among you now so the next hadith mentions عن أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه أن قال جاء أعرابي فبال في طائفة المسجد فزجره الناس فنهاهم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فلما قضى بوله أمر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بذنوب من ماء فأهريق عليه متفق عليه. So here it mentions that a Bedouin came to and began to urinate in the corner of the masjid. And then people rebuked him, but the Prophet ﷺ stopped them and let the man finish. And when he finished, the Prophet ﷺ ordered them to pour a large bucket of water over the urine. And this hadith is muttafaqun alayh. Okay. Now, all the things that's mentioned to be understood in this hadith, al-bawl, this is something that is what? Najis. So تطهيره أو يعني إزالته كان بالماء. And removing that impurity was to be done with water. And also to understand the reality of what was the masjid like in that time, it was sand. Okay, it wasn't tiles. So if you poured water over it, it would get soaked away. It wouldn't just run anywhere. So it wouldn't go further and spread. It would just literally soak up in that place. Okay, so that was of the ways that was the water that had been cleaned. Also to understand, الأعرابي هم يعني يعيش في البادية. They live remotely. They don't live among general people. They live remotely. ففي الغالب يكون جاهل بالأحكام. Majority of them they become quite ignorant regarding the rules and laws, and they have certain like stern kind of characteristics that is kind of known. They're not really. They live remote. They won't have the same values or customs as those who live in a more civilized city type lifestyle. So again, they wouldn't have known in reality the details of the what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam until they have found themselves in those situations, because they weren't around. They may have met the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but they were distant. They lived far away from people in general. So obviously one of them entered in the masjid and went to a corner and began to relieve themselves. So obviously the people, when they saw this, they became angered, because this is the masjid. ولا يجوز البول في المسجد. It's not permissible to relieve oneself in the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ commanded him to stop. Why? Al-bawl fi al-masjid mafsada. Relieving oneself in the masjid is an evil in of itself. But to go and stop him whilst he's doing that is a greater evil. Because maybe now the urine won't be in the one place that they're urinating, it'll end up going everywhere. And even on people, you see, and it'll cause more issues. It's also dangerous for that person's health and the likes. And there's more evils that come with trying to make inkar of them at that moment in time. So the Prophet ﷺ, you can see what you learn from this, mura'at al-masalih wal-mafasid. Observing the harms and the good, always before making a decision. Especially when it comes to inkar al-munkar, rebuking the evil. لابد من الموازنة والمراعاة المصالح والمفاسد. You have to weigh up the benefits and the harms. It's a must. And after this, after this, the Prophet ﷺ said to pour the water over it. He called the Bedouin and said to him, إن هذه المساجد لا يصح فيه شيء من الأذى والقدر. It mentions والقدر. It mentions these are the houses of Allah. So it's not correct for you to do anything in them of the likes of relieving oneself and other things like this. إنما هي للصلاة والتكبير وقراءة القرآن والذكر. Rather, they are only for the salah and to glorify Allah Azza wa Jal, remember Allah and recite the Quran. فقال الأعرابي اللهم ارحمني ومحمدا ولا ترحم معنا أحدا. He said, oh Allah, have mercy upon me and the Prophet Muhammad and don't have mercy upon anyone else with us. I.e. because of those who were angry with him. So he said this dua only for him and the Prophet Muhammad. Subhanallah. Lala is obviously... No, they rebuked him. No, but it shows, for example, النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ماذا علمهم في تلك الحالة؟ الرحمة. فهم يعني غضبوا من حرصهم، نعم، ويعني من حماس على المحافظة على المسجد، ما أخطأوا، نعم، ولكن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نبي الرحمة فعلمهم الرحمة في إنكار المنكر، فهذا دعاؤه. نعم.
هو ما عنده بدا تكيوت ولا عنده تكيت ولا يعرف الأصول ولا يعرف الأصول، ما قدام الناس في بيت في عبادة.
نعم.
يسوي اللي سواه.
لكن نقول يعني هذا من ما يعني لأنه هو الصحابي لا نقول شيء فيه.
هو صحابي؟
كيف لا يكون صحابي؟
ما أدري، استغفر الله عليه وقلت عنه جاهل.
لم يكن يتكلم مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
كل من تكلم مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
لا هو يتكلم مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
بس هو جاي زيارة.
هو قال لا، ولكن قال اللهم ارحمني ومحمدا، فهو يعرف أنه مسلم ليس كافرا.
إيه مسلم، لكن مسلم.
فإذا كان في عهد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فهو صحابي. من لقي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وآمن به ومات عليه فهو صحابي. لا نقول أنه هو من بدو، هذا صفة خاصة، ولكن هو من الصحابة.
الله يغفر له ويغفر
نعم.
لي ويغفر أمة محمد.
فهذا يكون مثلا يعني على أهمية الرحمة في إنكار المنكر. أهمية الرحمة في إنكار المنكر. ويعني المراعاة ما يترتب على إنكار المنكر من المفاسد. يعني هناك قواعد في إنكار المنكر والأمر بالمعروف. إذا كان سيؤدي إلى يعني مفسدة يعني متساو أو أعظم فلا يجوز الإنكار. لا يجوز الإنكار. If it's going to make another evil that's the same or greater, then you don't say, you're not allowed to rebuke it. If it's going to be less of an evil, if it brings about a lesser evil or a greater good, then you are to rebuke it. But if it's going to bring about another evil that's either the same or greater, then you don't say anything. You don't say anything. نعم لا يجوز إنكار. نعم. Remember, I gave the example before. For example, I had a brother, he's a drug addict. But instead of being on drugs now, he smokes cigarettes. That's a lesser evil. Someone comes, they don't know the issue. The first thing they just judge on the apparent. Why is he smoking by the masjid or something like this? So, alhamdulillah, he's not sniffing, injecting, you see. In those situations, it might even be wajib for you to buy the cigarette for him instead of letting him have the money to buy the drugs. Why? Because of the masalih wal mafasid. So in those situations, it's not like black and white. That's why it's for people of knowledge and not to be done based on emotion.
So in a situation with someone, should you try to have like personal done towards them, or is it that you are trying to predict what could happen?
You have to take into the consideration the possibilities, kind of thing. Especially if he's outside the masjid and he's near someone who's around the masjid all the time, ask that person, is there a reason why no one says anything to him, for example? Because as we said, people have mental health issues and you would never even know until they tell you. Or someone else tells you. You see, because now the way everyone is with phones and stuff, like almost everyone except for, alhamdulillah, a lot of us here, except most people, just general aside, you'd think something's wrong with them the way they behave. Social skills is lost. People can't even communicate. So that's of the ways you judge someone's not really all there because they can't communicate properly. How many people can't communicate properly? Like, maybe 80% of people, because of the way they're very unsocial. Because they're just stuck in the phone, stuck in chasing their dunya. As for general communication on a day-to-day basis, they don't know how to do it. You see? So, again, it seems normal, certain people's behaviors, but in reality there may be some mental health concerns there. Schizophrenia among young people, for example, has become widespread. Especially those who smoke weed. And I spoke about it after Salah the other day. And even when I was there, a mental health worker, he said, obviously, I want to talk about these things, but I can't because of the issues it's going to cause them at work. But he said 88% of young people that come through CAMS recommended for mental health concerns have got schizophrenia, and it's drug related. But they won't tell you that. He said 88%. That's not a small amount of people. You see? That shows there's a great issue. As I mentioned, because I've seen, like, in my block, there's brothers who I knew them when they were going madrasa, they was all smoking weed. The other day I catch sisters in Norbury, hijab, smoking weed. And it's like, the reality is these people, one day they're going to want to get married, but look, you're damaging everything to do with your honor and your akal. Everything. You see, and the issue is, like, there's a difference between someone who does this secretly in closed doors, يختفي عن الناس, they hide themselves, but this is mujahir. You're showing everyone, you're not hiding. You see, and you're doing it showing that you're a Muslim at the same time. So, this becomes even worse. Wallahu al-musta'an. Now, also, of the things that we benefit with this hadith especially, cleaning the masjid as well after he had urinated, that's got a lot of reward as well. There's abundant reward attached to that. Why? Because it's muhafadha al-masajid. Now, and of the thing that came in the hadith, or the Prophet Muhammad mentions, and the Prophet قال عرضت علي أجور أمتي حتى القاذات يخرجها الرجل من المسجد. He said, I was shown the rewards of my ummah, even the rubbish and the likes that a man will take out from the masjid. So helping to preserve the cleanliness of the masjid, it has great reward. It has great reward. And we know of the hadith of the woman that used to clean the masjid. And the Prophet said when she passed away, he prayed janazat al-ghaib because he didn't know of her janazah, that she passed away. And it shows the virtue of being of those who clean the masajid and maintain the masajid. And this is a duty for everyone. Even if they have a person who's employed to clean, if a person sees rubbish and the likes, they should clean it. If it's just like tissue and these things, one shouldn't just say that's not my job and walk away from it, kind of thing. Or if it's like the toilets are left in a way, you can tell the person who's meant to clean it, like, they need to be cleaned as a reminder that it's time for it to be cleaned and stuff like this. Now, but unfortunately also when it comes to these things, it's like we ourselves, we have to be clean in how we use the masajid and the likes. If we do make mess, then we clean it up, simple. We clean it up and not expect it to be done by someone else. We teach our children to maintain the cleanliness of the masjid. We teach them to know the significance of the masjid. The significance of the masjid as a house of Allah Azza wa Jal that's supposed to be preserved. As when the Prophet mentioned, أن المساجد لا يصلح فيها شيء من الأذى والقدر. He mentioned that the masjid is not befitting for have anything of harm and that which is detested and the likes. يعني المساجد بنيت لعبادة الله. The objective of why the masajid are built is for the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the objective of the masjid. That is built for Allah to be worshipped therein with salah, qira'at al-Quran, with durus, with dhikr, and the likes. From the things that's also mentioned, that you're not allowed to do anything from the dunya within the masjid. Like buying and selling is not allowed in the masjid. Buying and selling is not permitted in the masjid. Also, if a person was a tailor and the likes, you're not allowed to do that in the masjid. Services that people can pay for is not allowed to be done in the masjid either. I like being someone, like for example, the henna situation, that shouldn't be done in the masjid. Even if it's for Eid. Why? Because that's a service you get paid for. It's a tijara. So it should be done outside the masjid, not inside the masjid.
What about the money for masjid?
Even if.
What about like raising funds for the like a charity or the masjid?
By selling stuff.
Food, yeah.
It should be outside the masjid,
Okay.
not inside the masjid. I'm going to mention, if you saw someone doing business in the masjid, you can make dua against their business. Yeah, you make dua against their business.
So no work is permissible within the masjid?
Like, for example, if I'm working from home, let's say I was in the masjid working on my laptop, but I'm not doing, like, for example, I'm not doing business with people in the masjid. Like, let's say I sold perfume, for example. The brother sells perfume outside. I can't come upstairs and say he wants to buy this, you see. Or I sell cakes. I come upstairs in the masjid and say, look, these are the cakes I'm selling. Like, everything to do with speaking about your business outside the masjid. No.
If he was like working on the laptop, like, arranging to sell cakes later, is that permissible or no? You just do that outside the masjid?
That's okay. You're not. It's like Allahu Alam. You're not doing business at that moment in time. You might be prepping something.
Yeah.
You see, but it's like the actual transactions of business and the like or advertising should not be done inside the masjid. Where it's like you're making it known to people within the masjid, kind of thing. Can you distribute marketing material for your business in the masjid? No. Outside the masjid as well. So I announced it the other day. Someone put, I don't know who it is, but there were some flyers that they left on the floor by the kitchen for clothing. So this is not to be done. Maybe put outside the masjid or in the entrance area where the people put stuff that people can take. But as for where it's going to be considered the masjid itself, the actual masjid, it should be avoided. Some say the masjid compound is not considered to be the masjid. The masjid is the building as the masjid, not the compound. So the car park, a person can do it in the car park, not in the masjid though. Now the place of prayer. Allah knows best.
What about maktaba? Library, if we have, I think we have maktaba here. احنا عندنا مكتبة؟
Yeah, it's maktaba, it's not considered to be the masjid.
Yeah,
No.
مش مكان الصلاة.
Yeah. We'll stop here to the next lesson. We'll finish this chapter and go to the new chapter of Bab al-Aniya, containers and utensils, inshallah. But in general, when I speak about these matters, it also just the main thing that we want to learn is try not to do anything without finding out the ruling. No, like anything that there's a possibility that it might not be permissible, find out. Don't just do it. Okay, don't just do it. Out of fear of falling into something haram. The Muslim should always try to take caution and don't have the approach that ignorance is bliss. Like this is not the way of the Muslim. The Muslim should try their best to know, Not have this approach that if I don't know it's okay, I'm going to do it. And then when I find out, then I'll stop. Like, you should seek to know, especially when it comes to business. This is things mentioned in fiqh. So it's like you should kind of study that which will relate to you and your business, to know what's obligatory upon you, what's permissible, what's haram. So you make sure you're fulfilling it within the realm of the Sharia. No. No.
What about job roles that are within the masjid? That's okay, right?
Yeah, obviously within the masjid, the job roles, this is different. It's not going to be considered business. You see, like an admin and the likes, fundraiser, this is different. No. Do you have any exams or tests soon? I'll give you a test, inshallah.
Who's asking this? They're not even in it.
They usually come. They usually come. They haven't been for a while, but they usually come.
On Bulugh al-Marab or Kitab?
Kitab al-Tawheed. We'll do a test on Kitab al-Tawheed after Ramadan, and I'm going to tell you what it is you're going to be tested on. Okay? I'll tell you what you're going to be tested on, so you'll be able to revise for that period of time. Inshallah.
We're
No.
carrying on during Ramadan, we said.
Yes.
Same time in Ramadan, inshallah. We carry on.
I don't understand your question, Abu Musa, but I'm not alim, I'm not from the ulama, I'm just Ibrahim, that's it. We're carrying on in Ramadan.
Same time, Allah Yawala.
Yeah.
11 o'clock in Ramadan, so yeah,
11 o'clock is what? It's difficult.
12 is okay. What do you think?
What?
Ramadan, 11 good or 12 good for you?
11's fine. Me too.
All of you 11?
Can I have the rest of the evening?
And Salat al-Asr, mashallah, we are fasting.
No, no worries, Salma, it's okay.
Are we fasting?
Ramadan.
Of course we're fasting.
Yes,
It's good time to seek knowledge when you're fasting.
No problem.
Yeah.
Wallah. يعني from 11.
The car park is going to be open from basically when it opens early in the days that we have classes. Otherwise, it opens at Dhuhr time, like 12. Look, very big alim, then you're going to go astray if you think that, brother. I'm far from big alim. Yeah.
You know the test? Are the answers in Arabic or English?
Oh, why did you
Oh,
ask
no.
me?
If the Arabic
Actually,
meaning
what about Arabic?
you have left quick.
No, it's fine.
أنا سويدي عربي ها أستاذ لا تنسى امتحاني عربي هذا
No.
إذا نجحت أنا عند بركة أحفظ لك شيء سيء
Now, inshallah, I'll tell you what the test will be on, in general, inshallah. Yeah. It won't be in, obviously, only Auntie Amar's one will be in Arabic.
special.
But this is, you're going to tell us the test during Ramadan. So we have Ramadan to prepare.
Yeah,
Okay. Alright.
inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay, I'll tell you from now. It'll be on the first, we're on chapter 7 or 8. We're going to go on we've just done chapter 7 and 8. It'll be on the first 5 chapters that serve as the muqaddimah. Then when we finish the next 9 chapters, as we mentioned, the next section is the next 9 chapters, then our test will be on those 9 chapters. So we do it according to how the book has been divided.
أستاذ أنا ما عندي الكتاب ما أعطيتني.
How many questions?
I have it. Should I bring it for you next time, inshallah? I have the Arabic one.
أي عندك عربي؟
I'll bring you the Arabic one because now it's time to do this one. So.
أي عربي.
Yeah, I'll bring you the Arabic one.
Thank you very much.
Next
خلاص
time.
next week إن شاء الله. جزاك الله. بعد في امتحان we should study.
Now,
أوف I should.
So just memorization.
لا الفهم يعني understanding. No,
Oral
inshallah.
test or written? Sorry, I got like
Written.
Okay, inshallah.
We can add presentation if you want, where it becomes oral. So that's not going to be on live, that's just be among you guys here. Because you have to learn to teach at some point.
It's good to like learn knowledge, like something you missed when you're doing it.
Like, yes, also Medina College on Friday, they're having a good seminar that if you can make it to, I'll send the poster, or if you have it already, send it among the sisters group, inshallah.
It's food.
It's full.
Yeah, completely free.
Yeah, I'll speak to Ustad Abdul Wahid
Is it going to be live?
because he told me to tell you guys as well.
Oh yeah, is it the marriage? No.
It's going to be live. It's in place. I don't know if it's going to be online.
Yeah, online.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I tried to. I got space. I don't know if I'm going to reach them.
I'll ask inshallah, but it should be okay.
Were you able to find out the permissibility of credit? Answer your question about credit. The policy. It was for business.
Oh yes, I need to ask. When I said about the thing about the voucher and
Exactly. Yeah.
okay, yeah. I need to ask too. Sorry. If I don't respond to you by tomorrow, just send me a question mark. Do you need to provide references? It depends. Obviously, we have in Kitab al-Tawheed the references, but I might just mention the, what's it called? What's it called? The evidence will be provided. You have to maybe say what's the benefits or what's the relevance of this kind of thing. No. It's like the way we kind of mentioned Munasabatul Ayah bil Bab, what's the appropriateness of the relevance between this ayah and this chapter, X, Y, and Z. What is this evidence for? What do we benefit from this now? Stuff like this. Or I might say, is this true that this means this, or is it false, X, Y, and Z? Stuff like that. No, they're saying you can still turn up because it's more like a first come first served basis. Even though people sign up, it's more like a lot of people don't turn up. So, yeah, Medina College, Brixton. I teach there on Sunday, so obviously I was told to tell this class anyway, because it's more like sisters who are more studious, inshallah. Anyway, that they want to be there, so it'll be good. Yeah. Next, is learning sihr kufr akbar even if you can't do it? Yes. Learning sihr is kufr akbar. No.
You know that thing we were talking about earlier? Not terminating, not...
Tiwala.